Hi, I'm Jan and this is Jan Explains. If you are dreaming of becoming an entrepreneur in the Atlassian ecosystem, you're on the right spot. We are exploring Atlassian Ventures today with special guest Philip Braddock from Atlassian. Are you ready? Let's go! Hi Philip, it's great to have you here in my show today.
Hey Jan, thank you so much for having me. I'm actually really excited to chat, and I'm certainly excited to share some more information about Atlassian Ventures, what we do, why we exist, and hopefully answer some of your questions as well.
Of course, thank you so much. So let's start with the first question. Tell us a little bit more about you, about your role at Atlassian.
Sure, absolutely. So very quick history about me, at least as far as my Atlassian life is concerned. I've been working at Atlassian for almost 9 years. I started here when I was actually a graduate student. So I started as an intern and I've bounced around throughout my time. I've been very fortunate to grow as Atlassian has grown as a company. And for the past few years, I have been the portfolio management lead for Atlassian Ventures. And what that really means in simpler terms is that Atlassian Ventures, which I'll talk about in just a moment, is Atlassian's corporate venture capital fund. And when we invest in third-party companies, my job is to help those companies be as successful as possible. So what that really means on a day-to-day basis is I'm supporting companies, helping them navigate Atlassian, making sure that they have the most up-to-date and relevant information about product roadmaps, about strategic changes, about opportunities to sort of get in front of Atlassian customers. And as you might imagine, there's a whole bunch of stuff, both big and small, that sort of happens in between all that. We host community events for companies in our portfolio. We try to provide as much exclusive and preferred placement for them to sort of make sure that Atlassian customers are aware of these companies and the fact that we've invested in them. And really what I tell entrepreneurs in our portfolio is that once we have actually invested, my job, as I see it, is to help them get the most value out of our investment, Jan, where the word value in that sentence has nothing to do with the actual investment we've made, but has everything to do with what we can sort of accomplish together for the mutual end customer.
Wow, what an introduction.
Fair enough.
I'm really thankful that you explained what you really do. So it's really interesting. Thanks. It means like you really talk with the with the, I don't know, with the co-founders or with the CEOs of those companies. It seems a little bit to me like also if you're giving tips, if you are talking about the product roadmap, that you're kind of a product manager. Is that right?
I would say I follow the very, very talented product managers at Atlassian from the sidelines, I think is a much better way to say it. So I'm not necessarily here to influence anyone's roadmap. We do not have a development team, for example, that is adjacent to or part of Atlassian Ventures in any way. But what I really meant by that comment was I want to make sure that the companies who, for example, are building apps in the Atlassian marketplace, the companies that are in our portfolio that are doing that they understand what direction Atlassian is going to be going in at all times. So that if they want to try to launch a marketplace app that extends one or multiple of Atlassian's core products, phenomenal. We think that's an amazing opportunity. You know, fundamentally, the reason Atlassian Ventures even exists is to fund more development in the Atlassian ecosystem. And what that generally means in sort of practical terms is that we invest in companies that look one of two ways. One are the companies I already mentioned, companies launching apps in the marketplace, building businesses in the Atlassian marketplace. The second type of companies in which we invest are companies who may be building apps in the marketplace, but the thesis of those investments is rooted much more deeply in API-based integrations so that the mutual end customer can have an accelerated, enhanced, and ideally fairly elegant experience when they work with a portfolio company's products, and they also work with at least one Atlassian tool.
All right, maybe let's go one step back.
Sure,
you already told it, I would say, like 2 times, but maybe you can put it in 1 or 2 sentences for our viewers who are just hearing about it for the first time. So what is Atlassian Ventures all about? What is the primary mission of this program, like in short?
In the simplest terms, Jan, Atlassian Ventures is a corporate venture fund for Atlassian. So in that sense, I'm on a team at Atlassian, and it just so happens my team is Atlassian Ventures. And the reason the fund exists is to, sorry to use this word twice. The reason that we exist is to fund more development in the Atlassian ecosystem. We are a key part of the extensibility pillar of Atlassian's platform. And so we want to go out and invest in startups that have the potential to deliver great or even more value than they're already delivering to the mutual end customer.
What would happen? So let's say I have this cool idea. I don't know. Do I talk to you first? Who will be like my first point of contact?
Yeah, it's a fantastic question. So I will answer that question, but let me also make a point, Jan, that I want to make sure everyone who watches this understands. We are stage agnostic investors at Atlassian Ventures. So that means we invest in companies where maybe 2 or 3 people have an idea. Maybe it's been a hobby. I think that's kind of what you were talking about here, Jan, and they're curious to become first-time entrepreneurs. We've invested in companies like that where we are maybe the only investor in the earliest stage possible. We have also invested in more mature companies who have gone public in publicly traded stock markets, for example. And so we have companies across that maturity spectrum. If anyone is curious to see the companies in our portfolio, you can visit Atlassian.com/ventures, and then there is a companies tab, and you can very clearly see all the companies we've invested in. But now that I've said that, let me answer your direct question, Jan. So the first step in the process, I would say, if you're interested in funding from Atlassian Ventures, is to check out the information on our website. In sort of a wink and a nod to Atlassian's corporate value, open company, no BS, we have tried to be incredibly transparent in not just how we pick our investments, but even the instruments or the contracts that we use for the investments. We have publicly published all of that information, including what we think is a pretty extensive set of FAQs on Atlassian.com/ventures. So what I would encourage any interested entrepreneur, regardless of what stage your company is at, to do is check out our website, go through the FAQs, sort of read maybe some of the contracts that are there. We also have blogs that complement those contracts. So it's not just a contract for you to read. We explain why we've published them, some context around it and things of that nature. And then if you are interested, there is actually a very clear way to apply through the website. So there's a self-service application. We try to do our best to sort of get back to applicants, whether we are interested or whether it doesn't make sense one way or the other. We try to get back to you in a timely fashion. And then, I know you didn't ask this question necessarily, Jan, but to talk you through at a high level what the process looks like, someone from the ventures team, like myself, would be the first conversation. If that goes well, we would most likely set up at least one more call where we would do much more of a product and technical deep dive. Part of our process at Atlassian Ventures is to bring in a subject matter expert from the right part of the business, depending on what that startup is working on. So for example, if it's a Jira thing, maybe we bring in a Jira ecosystem product manager. If it is a security company, we would bring in someone who works in the office of the CISO, for example, and on from there. If that call goes well, then we do put together a formal investment memo, which is complemented by pretty heavy due diligence. I wouldn't say it's onerous due diligence, but we are proper investors and we ask questions and we want to understand business plans and growth plans. And if you're the earliest stage startup, we fully understand that that might not be a mature plan, and that's okay. But we do want to make sure that we're working with founders who are not just interested in building cool products and features, but actually want to build businesses to complement those products and features as well.
So again, really big piece of information. Again, I need to recap a little bit with my own words.
Please, yeah.
So, if I understood you correct, so I, for example, I have already my company. I'm not a startup anymore, but still, I could, for example, create a new app together with you guys that is, part of this program. Is that correct?
Yeah, the one thing I just want to clarify in what you said, and I think it's an important clarification, is you said build an app with us. We're not necessarily co-builders, but if what the intention of that was to say, could you have another idea or a new idea, and maybe we would become investors and help sort of support that idea with capital and then sort of the infrastructure that we provide from portfolio management. Yes, 100%, that's a viable opportunity. Obviously, we evaluate each investment in its own right, so we sort of we do our own diligence and we do our own analysis for every single investment opportunity. So there's certainly no way to guarantee a particular outcome in either way. But fundamentally, you've got it, Jan. That's right.
Yeah. How old is this program actually?
Yeah, great question. So the fund itself is about 3 years old, and I first joined the team about 2 years ago. So for the first year, or so, we were kind of doing things a little bit more in a one-off fashion. That's not to suggest that things weren't standardized as much as the team itself. I was one of the first people on the team. So I joined the team almost 2 years ago. And since then, we've really tried to take a scalable programmatic approach. Now, it doesn't really matter to us when your company was created. As I said, we have invested in companies that have had mostly just an idea with a couple people trying to become first-time founders, and more mature companies as well. So even if your company predates the founding of the fund, if you're doing something in the Atlassian ecosystem, or you have a new idea that touches the Atlassian ecosystem, we would certainly love to hear from you. We're always interested in speaking to passionate, engaged founders who have creative ideas, especially that add tremendous value to the customer. And so fundamentally, if you feel like that describes, or rather, if that description applies to you, we would love for you to check out more information at atlassian.com/ventures. And if it makes sense for you to reach out, please do. We're always interested to speak to new people.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I have another question
Sure.
regarding the amount of ventures that are currently in the program. Can you share something about this?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have over 55 companies that are active in our portfolio. And as I have mentioned a few times, Jan, at very different stages of maturity. We have companies that, at least in sort of the venture capital language, you'd call pre-seed stage companies. So that's incredibly early. And then we have companies that are sort of, on their path to becoming a public company as well. And if I haven't said it, I should say it. We have companies everywhere in between that as well. So it's not just two sides of that spectrum. We've really got the breadth of there. So those companies span not just different senses of maturity. They approach the Atlassian ecosystem from different angles, and we provide varying levels of support based on sort of what they need and what we discussed before we become an investor. And of course, the relationship is also organic. So throughout that time, even if strategies change and things shift, we are here to support founders across the board.
I have one other question that, let's say I'm now in the program, and maybe for, I don't know, half a year, 1 year. What is the typical roadmap that I can expect if I'm in this program? From after applying and successfully applying to the program, and maybe to 1 or 2 years, maybe you can share or give a little bit more insight into this. What happens actually during all this time?
Yeah, absolutely, Jan. So there's no single formula. So I think some of that also depends on how your company grows and what direction each company goes in the portfolio. So there's not necessarily a roadmap that I can provide that's so universal and singular, where it's like, hey, at 6 months, this happens, and at 12 months, that happens. But what I can say is that we offer a variety of perks and services to every company in the portfolio that are designed to sort of meet you where you are in your maturity growth. And so at the core of all of our services is a focus on symbiotic value, Jan, between the portfolio company, Atlassian Ventures, Atlassian as its own business, and most importantly, the mutual end customer. So whether that means coming to an invite-only fireside chat with a senior Atlassian leader, whether that means taking advantage of preferred or exclusive placement on digital and web properties, as well as at Atlassian-hosted conferences. It might mean that you are blocked on a particular technical issue, and someone like me can help accelerate you getting connected to the right people at Atlassian to answer your question. There are a variety, or a quote-unquote menu of perks and services that we provide that are constantly evolving as well. We are always experimenting to try to provide the most value to companies in our portfolio. And if we find that a particular quote-unquote service or perk is not working, great, we remain agile ourselves. That's not to say our investment process changes, but the support process evolves and changes, again, based very similar to what we talked about at the beginning of this conversation, Jan, based on things that change within the Atlassian ecosystem, the strategy of the portfolio company, somewhere in between those two. So it's sort of an organic dialogue that continues throughout the entire relationship of us as an investor.
So let's assume my app is in the marketplace. It happened because of this program. I'm not sure if I already saw an app that also, actually said to the end customer, hey, I'm an Atlassian venture, or I took part of this program. Is this is this something like a badge of quality or something? What do you think?
The short answer is yes, Jan. We think that the companies we've invested in provide a certain degree of quality, which we try to suss out when we do diligence and as we continue to support the founders and the execs and the companies overall in our portfolio. To your question about the marketplace specifically, one place you can actually go is there is an exclusive quote unquote collection in the Atlassian marketplace. So if you visit the marketplace homepage, you can actually scroll all the way to the bottom, and on the left, there are a whole series of collections. There is one exclusively for Atlassian Ventures companies. Now, one thing I will tell anyone who does that is it's a randomized display. So not every single app shows up every time. Some of that is a little bit of a constraint or a feature, depending on how you want to say about it, of the tool that hosts the marketplace listings. But yes, that's a great example of how we try not only to present the companies in our portfolio to Atlassian customers, but I would argue, a perk, quote unquote, of being in the portfolio is that your app, whether it's a full app or an informational listing, can be featured in a collection like that.
Philip, thank you so much for being here today. It was really insightful. I love to hear that every, a company, it doesn't matter how small, how big they are, where they are in their, let's say, life span. Everyone is welcomed. Everything is transparent. However, once again, thank you so much for being here and for all the insights. And I hope you guys also enjoyed it.
Well, thank you, Jan. It's been a real pleasure. And for anyone watching, again, I do invite you to visit Atlassian.com/ventures. And if you have any questions, all our information, how to contact us, how to apply, etc., it's all on there. So thank you, Jan. This has been really fun. I appreciate it.
I really enjoyed this video. I hope you did as well. Hit the like and subscribe button. Make sure to check out my other videos. All right, that's it for today. Until next time.